Indiana State Forest with friends on July 4th when 5 white men pinned him to a tree, beat him, threatened to lynch him. Booker is a member of the Monroe County Human Rights Commission in Bloomington. He says he was able to get out of the mob's hands after passersby intervened to get the attackers off him. Last week, Vauxx held a news conference with his attorney, local elected officials, and 2 of the white witnesses who intervened on his behalf during the attempted lynching. This is a reporter questioning one of those witnesses, Stephen Cox.
Had said multiple times yesterday that when they were holding him down, calling for a noose, threatening to harm him, he truly thought that they were trying to kill him. As someone who was an outsider, kind of able to see all the moving parts of this, did you also think that it was a possibility that Vauxx might not be?
Yes. When they called him, you can leave the boy here, you guys can go, you can leave the boy here. So the white people could go, but they wanted us to leave him there. And to do what they wanted to with him. I don't think anybody could do that in good conscience. I'm not a fighter, so I'm like, but I wouldn't leave. But it was scary. I mean, probably the scariest thing I've ever seen.
And this is a reporter questioning another white witness, Brendan Golightly.
In your opinion, if you all, the other people that were there as well as yourself that have their phones out, there was Vauxx, if you were not there, do you think the situation would have ended differently?
I think it would have ended very differently. I also feel if it was me or any one of our other campers, that wouldn't have happened. That's just my personal feeling of the situation. I do think because of the color of Vauxx's skin that this happened to him.
The FBI is investigating the attack as a potential hate crime, and Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton has condemned it in a statement. But Vauxx Booker is now calling on the U.S. District of Southern Indiana jury to take up the case. Vauxx Booker joins us now from Bloomington. Welcome to Democracy Now! So sorry to hear about what happened to you. Can you describe it was July 4th?
It was July 4th, the nation's Independence Day. I was simply trying to gather with a group of friends to watch the lunar eclipse.
You walked into Indiana State Forest?
Yeah, our site was just about a short 10-minute hike in. A friend and I, we were going to go meet a group of others. On our way in, we were confronted by a man who was wearing a oversized cowboy hat with a Confederate flag print on it. We were cordial enough, continued towards the site. A moment later, he pursued us on an ATV, told us we were on private property. I knew we weren't actually on private property, but rather than have some type of confrontation, we just simply apologized and continued to our site and spoke to the organizer. From there, we didn't know what would escalate later.
So you went to your campsite, and what did the person who ran the campsite tell you?
So he informed us that this gentleman actually wasn't the property owner, that he knew the property owner. So from there, we just went ahead and advised the rest of our group that they should take the public access way up the beach so there wouldn't be any dispute at all. Shortly later, some of our group joined, and they had informed us that these gentlemen had set up sort of a barricade or blockade on the beach using the boat and some ATVs. And as they were coming in, they had white power and some other phrases chanted at them. It was all very disturbing.
So then explain what happened. Explain when they actually physically attacked you, Vauxx.
So a friend and I went down to see if we could just talk to some of these folks and build a rapport and reason. The conversation was going well. Then this gentleman that with the Confederate flag had on initially joined. He quickly became belligerent. We felt the situation devolving, so we just simply walked away. A few moments later, as we were walking away, I heard footsteps quickly approaching. This man came at me and swung his fist at me. Another gentleman came. So I was on the
for a fight, pigs.
A third gentleman came. We tussled for a moment. Two more men came. And from there, they were able to pick and drag my body to this tree and put their body weight on me. And as several folks started kicking and punching me. There's a moment where one of these gentlemen jumps on my neck with both of his feet, and I can feel his full body weight impact me. It was scary. They were literally in the video. You can hear one of the gentlemen refer to me as nappy-headed. At that time, he had his hands in my hair and was using my hair as leverage to strike me in the back of the head as his friends held me down.
And then what happened?
It's
fucking terrible.
One of the men's daughters heard us. She came out screaming for her father to let me go, for his friends to get off me. They refused and tried to tell her to go away. More people heard the daughter screaming because we were still close to the roadside, and people were passing through. People just started coming to my defense. They yelled at the men to let me go. They came forward as these men pushed them away or swatted at them. There's a moment where I hear a lady yell out, "Don't kill him." And it's a moment where you realize that you're hearing your own potential death being narrated in front of you. And we have to be aware of George Floyd and how many other black folks in our history have heard those executions spoken before them in real time. I felt myself want to cry out, "I can't breathe," with the weight of these men on top of me, and I just couldn't say the words. So these folks continue to stop just merely being bystanders, as we've seen in so many videos, and actively engage and resist, and they were finally able to pull me from under these men, and then they used themselves as sort of a human shield to make sure that as these men pursued us, that I was still safe.
Did you hear one of the men on top of you talk about getting a noose as they piled on top of you with this tree?
Absolutely. So there's a point where this gentleman, as a command,
Gentleman ain't no gentleman, is a fucking
not
pig.
get a rope, but simply get a noose as the first term that comes into his mind, with the heavy connotation in American history with black people and lynchings. It was an odd thing to hear. Rather than even get a rope, it was just the noose was the first thing that came to his mind.
So how did the police end up coming? Did you and the others in your party call the police? And what did they do?
I know that I called the authorities. I'm not sure if other folks had already called the authorities as well. It's a state perk, so the Department of Natural Resources responded. They took about 40 minutes to get there. Before they even came to see if any of us were injured, they went and spoke to these men that had attacked us first. Then about 20 minutes later, they came to us. They didn't seem very interested in actually doing an investigation. It wasn't until the white bystanders that had stayed on the beach with me just became fiercely passionate and objecting to me being treated this way and feeling like there was a miscarriage of justice, that these officers went back and got these individuals' names. Then they came and took some photographs of my injuries, but they never specifically asked me if I needed an ambulance.
You had patches of your hair pulled out?
I did have patches of hair missing. There was a moment where the commanding officer showed up and he instantly starts lecturing me on property rights.
What?
One of the
Fucking
things that I do in our
racist.
community is I also chair the county's affordable housing commission. So I've done that for 2 years, so I'm intimately acquainted with the details of property rights in our county. I pulled up the county rights, the land rights in my phone in real time to show this commanding officer that this land wasn't actually these folks' land as they were claiming. He still continued to berate me. I explained to him how
He's
they
in
had
on it.
literally
He's
tried to
another
lynch me.
fucking white supremacist.
And he said, well,
Name the
I could go
officer.
arrest them, but then they could say to us, well, what do you mean we can't defend
What's the
our property?
officer's name?
And he was just fixated on this notion that somehow, even if I had been on private property, which I wasn't, that
Arrest that officer.
superseded the importance of my life.
So they were
Abuse
not
of
arrested
power.
for assault there. And you made it out of the forest. Can you talk about what happened after this? You went to the hospital?
So the following day, I had symptoms of a concussion. I went to the emergency room. I was examined by the physician. She was enraged. She called the Department of Natural Resources herself and demanded that they return to the hospital and add a whole medical report or diagnosis into my incident report. She was very upset with the officers. She indicated that they should have offered me medical treatment at the time, that they couldn't know whether or not I had injuries because they weren't medical professionals. It was just a very disturbing situation, and it felt like not only was I attacked in the moment, but I continued to be attacked
By the police.
the events that followed.
So
I honestly felt like those officers, when they showed up in the moment, would have rather arrested me than the men who attacked me.
So explain what's happened at this point. It's now a week later.
Name them.
Have the police arrested these men? Have they been identified? Is the FBI involved?
So the FBI is actively investigating. These men remain.
Yeah, they're gonna
loose
let
in
them
the
off because they're
community,
fucking white
free to
supremacists
do
as well.
whatever harm they might do to whomever they might find.
Yeah.
I feel like the Department of Natural Resources is dragging their feet on the investigation. It's been over a week. Going back and looking at the events of the night, we also were able to realize that they didn't arrest these men who attacked me, but they arrested some folks who were skinny dipping nearby. It just seemed like my life wasn't a priority to them at any time, and at this point, I'm not sure that we can find justice in our local system.
Should have
So
recorded
we've
that
asked
too
for
when the
federal
cops
government
came.
to step
And what are you demanding of the federal government? I mean, interestingly, your state, Indiana, is also Vice President Pence's state.
Great.
Yeah, so Mike Pence and I are from the same small town, Columbus, Indiana.
There you go.
You know, I grew up interacting with him in various ways all through my life, and our families were acquainted. The irony is not lost on me. But the federal government has the capability to not only investigate this incident with me.
They ain't gonna do that.
Indiana
They're
has
fucking
seen
racist.
a
Neo-Nazis
whole
in chief.
string of hate-fueled assaults and violent encounters with police.
No, they were bummed you weren't
It's
lynched,
time
bro.
for the federal government, with the resources and federal hate crime standards, to step in and help the people of our state.
Yeah, good luck.